a lot of things to talk about. I guess I'll talk about claircognizance. I'm kind of in a silly mood because I was just reading some YouTube comments. I sometimes go to YouTube videos that are posted by these people who call themselves skeptics. No, they're really not skeptics. We call them pseudo-skeptics. And they love to make fun of people who are religious, people who believe in psi or the paranormal, or people who say that they've experienced anything paranormal, people who believe in psychics. I don't like the word psychic. I don't like that. But even people who believe in the clairsensitivities. What was that? So, if you're one of these people and you're on YouTube, I'm sure you've been attacked. And I was just reading some stupid comments from some of these stupid pseudo-skeptics. And it just put me in a silly mood because they're just so stupid. They're just so stupid. They think they're so smart. But anyway, I was gonna maybe talk about claircognizance. That is my favorite clairsensitivity. I have a bit of a claircognizant, a bit of an empath, maybe there's clairsentience too. They're very similar, but they're different. I could have been a gifted clairvoyant, I think, but when I was really, really little, it scared me a lot, and I just kind of turned it off. And when I was in my early 20s, mid-20s, I thought about turning it back on. Because back in those days, it was still real easy. I could flip the switch anytime I wanted on that. But, you know, I tried it again and it still creeped me out. So I'm considering working with that again sometime in the future. I'm going to be doing a remote viewing experiment coming up. It's my own experiment. I'll make a video about my experiment design and all that stuff. But I'm also a Gnostic, and so I have some gnosis, inner knowing, and it's I kind of make sometimes a distinction between claircognizance and gnosis, depending on the subject matter. But anyway, some of you might be wondering, well, what's claircognizance? What's clairsentience? The clairsenses are, there's clairvoyance, and that's means clear seeing. It's getting imagery in your mind's eye. People who are visually creative are usually, they are more likely to have some clairvoyant abilities. There's claircognizance, which is my favorite. It's clear knowing. It's when you just know, and it's not. A lot of people online, they say it's like gut feeling. It's not gut feeling. It's not gut feeling. Gut feeling is clairsentience, which is clear feeling, as in you feel it with your body. And that includes picking up emotions of other people, because emotions are, you feel emotions with your body, so clairsentience. And the empath experience is a type of clairsentience. And there's clairaudience, where you have, clear hearing. I haven't had that a lot. I've had that a few times. And there are two other, I always have trouble remembering the words. I think clear, I can never, one of them is like smell, clear smelling, and one is taste. But anyway, and I'm going to have some videos about the empath experience, because a lot of people have self-identified as empaths, and they have a lot of questions. So I'm no expert, but I thought I could, just make a video talking about that. And there are different types of empath experience, and there's one type of empath way of being that's actually very, very sacred. It's a very sacred thing, but I'll talk about that in another video. But like I said, my favorite clairsense is claircognizance. And like I was saying, a lot of people on YouTube have said that it's like gut feeling, gut instinct, and that is not at all true. That's totally wrong. Claircognizance, clear knowing, it's all here. It's all here. So you don't have physical symptoms like you do with the empath experience and with clairsentience. It's all here. And I guess that's one reason I love it so much. Well, it's my primary ability, but I love it because it's for me, it gives the best information. It's usually accurate. And with me, I just turned 50, and I did not acknowledge that I am claircognizant and that I'm a bit of an empath until about a year ago. I had and I just had a number of experiences, and the sensitivities had increased, and I just got to the point where I could no longer not acknowledge it, and I'll talk about that at some point. But the skeptics say, well, the pseudo-skeptics say, oh, none of this exists. And skeptics, a genuine skeptic keeps an open mind, whereas the pseudo-skeptics, they have their minds made up already. They just don't believe, period. Even if they are presented with evidence, scientific evidence, they just still, you know, they're always saying, show me the evidence, show me the evidence, but, and there's evidence out there, scientific evidence, but they just, I don't, they're stupid. They're just stupid. You know, but the skeptics will, they'll, if you share an experience with them, or hint around at it, or if you say you believe in clair-sensitivities or whatever, they'll say, well, it's just blah blah blah, you know, it's coincidence, or it's confirmation bias, or hindsight bias, or they've got this whole list of things. And you know, I had to study that. I majored in psychology, and we had to learn about those cognitive biases and you know, mental mistakes. And you know what the skeptics don't realize, like as far as I'm concerned, I mean, God, even at the age of 7, I'd never heard of confirmation bias or any of those things, but I was already asking myself, I was already putting myself through, you know, this a list of questions after I would have an experience where I knew something that I had no way of knowing. So, you know, and I still do that, but I spent so many years trying to explain it away and just kind of ignoring it and second guessing myself, and even self-medicating to desensitize myself. And you know, so it's not like I just started believing this stuff just because I wanted to. You know, so you know, the skeptics they're just what they are. They're obnoxious, you know. I kind of feel sorry for them sometimes, a little bit, but not too much, because they're just, you know, they're obnoxious. They're not usually very creative thinkers. And basically, science is their god, you know. I love science, but I'm not one of those persons who can't know something that has not yet been scientifically proven. Like, I know I have a spirit. I know I have a soul. I know I have a soul, and I know I have that divine spark that is spirit. Most of these skeptics, and especially the pseudo-skeptics, they don't believe in the existence of the human soul or the human spirit. And it for a while it was really bothering me, because I just thought, oh my God, that's just horrible. And I mean, it doesn't have to be about religion at all. It's not about that. The idea of a human being that denies the existence of the human spirit itself, it just seemed tragic to me. And you know, it really bothered me. But I'm a Gnostic, and there are other Gnostics who are smarter than me, and they've told me what, I suspected, and what some of the Gnostic writings talk about. Not all human beings have that divine spark. So, and there are a ton of them out there now. It seems like they're about to be the majority. Maybe it's always been like this, I don't know. No, I don't think so. So I'm not going to worry about that much anymore. If, they adamantly tell me, I don't have a soul, I don't have a spirit, when I die, that's it. I guess I should just take them at their word. It just bothers me a little, because I know there are some people out there who probably believe that, who actually do have a spirit. They're just young, and they haven't been in an environment around people who, were, an environment that was in any way conducive or hospitable to that idea of human spirit, But anyway, I got off on a tangent there, talking about spirit. But those of you out there who have clair-sensitivities, including the empath experience, you're one of those who has a soul and a spirit, and these pseudo-skeptic people, they seem to think that it would be a kind of a disability to believe in something like the soul or the spirit, almost as though they think it would take something away from them. But as you and I know, it doesn't do that at all. It actually gives. It gives. So I was gonna talk about claircognizance. Should I talk about some of my experiences? The first experience I remember, I was 7 years old, and this may have not been claircognizance. It was just one of those experiences. The reason I remember it, well, I just remember it because I remember it. The event, the experience. It's an ordinary, everyday thing. But one reason I also remember it is it may have not been the first time that it happened, but it's the first time, or the earliest memory I have of me having seemingly known something, or having had something just pop into my head, and that was the right answer. And then afterwards I was like, what just happened? How did I know that? But it was just an everyday experience. I was with my mom and my grandmother at a garden center, and my grandmother was saying that there was a certain type of flower that she wanted to have growing in her yard, and she couldn't think of the name. She was standing there talking to me and my mom, and she was saying, there's, some kind of there's this flower I want to grow in my yard. I can't think of the name. Oh, what is it? What is it? And I was standing there, and I was in a playful mood, and I thought, you know, I was in a playful mood. I was gonna pull her leg, as the saying goes. And I thought, I'm just gonna think of the craziest name I can think of and ask her if that's the name of the flower. And so I was like, okay, I think of the craziest name I can think of, and the word tiger just popped into my head, just out of nowhere. And I said, Grandma, is it a tiger? And then the word lily just rolled off of my tongue. So I said, Grandma, is it a tiger lily? And I just made that up. I mean, it just popped into my head. And she looked at me and she said, yes, that's it. And I thought she knew that I was playing with her, and she was just playing back. And I was like, no, it's not a tiger lily. And she's like, yes, it is. And then she wandered off to go ask the garden people if they had potted tiger lilies. And my mom wandered off, and I was just kind of by myself then, and I was just kind of walking around the garden center, and I was like, what just happened? What just happened? Did I maybe I had heard of a tiger lily before, and I forgot, and then I just kind of remembered, and so I was kind of like racking my brain, trying to remember of having heard of a type of flower called the tiger lily, and I never could recall having heard of that. And maybe maybe I had heard of it, and it just it was like in my unconscious, and my conscious just retrieved it somehow. So so that's just an experience, and there've been other types of claircognizance experiences where it was a name that just popped into my mind. Usually it's not names, but the tiger lily was one of those experiences, if it was indeed claircognizance. There was one time I was about 30, and I was in the shower one afternoon, and I was thinking about my old boyfriend. I had a new boyfriend now. I was thinking about my old boyfriend. I hadn't seen him I hadn't bumped into him around town in about a year and a half or so, and he was 42 or something, and at that time, and I started thinking about him in the shower, and I was like, I wonder if he's ever gonna get married. And I was just standing there in the shower, and I was like, my mind went, if he ever marries, he'll get married to a woman named Connie. Yeah, a woman named Connie. If he ever gets married, he's gonna marry a woman named Connie. And then I didn't think about it much more until about a month later. I was looking through the Sunday newspaper, and they have the wedding engagement announcements, and I was just looking through, and I saw his engagement announcement, and he was engaged to a woman named Connie, and I had no way to have known this. We had no mutual friends. I hadn't heard any news about him. There was no way I could have known that. Um, um, and had another experience where I knew somebody's name, first name and last name, and it's not a real common name. The last name was Broderick, which is not common, but usually claircognizance for me is not names. It's usually it can be all kinds of things. Before the Sandy Hook shooting last December, it's like early December, with me it's like a lot of times just thoughts just come in to my head, it feels like, well, sometimes it's just thoughts are just, they're just there. When I was a teenager, I noticed that my daydreams would come true, and I've always daydreamed a lot, and I've always just kind of watched I've always paid attention to what happens in my mind, my thoughts, and I actually think a lot of people, if not most, if not all people, have claircognizance. They just don't notice it. They just don't notice it because you have to be pretty introspective to really notice it in a significant way. And most people they're just not, they're preoccupied with what's on the outside of them more than they're preoccupied with what's on the inside. What was I gonna say? Oh, when I was a teenager, my daydreams, I noticed my daydreams would come true. Like I'd be just thinking about somebody that I was interested in, or somebody I knew, just thinking about them, and then I'd start daydreaming, and I might daydream that this person did this sort of thing, like was at the beach and did this or that, or they were dating somebody, or I just imagined them being with another person, and then later I would find out that they were actually dating that person, or they did go to the beach and do whatever it was that I imagined. So I noticed that about daydreams, at least by the time I was a teenager. And yeah, I'm sure it actually happens a lot more than I realize, because with claircognizance, you don't know if you've really had claircognizance for sure unless you get outside verification. And even if all your daydreams were true, you still wouldn't have verification for it. So, where was I? Oh, Sandy Hook. Yeah, it was like 3 weeks before that happened. I was just I don't know, doing something around the house, and this idea or thought came into my mind that there would be another mass shooting, because there had been one in Colorado earlier that season, a month or two earlier, and I was just I mean, I wasn't even thinking about anything like that, and all of a sudden it just came into my mind, there's going to be another mass shooting. And then I was like, I think it's going to happen at a school. And then the horrible idea that it would happen at an elementary school popped into my mind, and then I said to myself, if this does happen, the result will be there'll be a lot more talk about gun control, and I said to myself, if this does happen, in the pretty near future, shooting at an elementary school, it will result in more talk about gun control, and that will have been its purpose. It will have been orchestrated in some way. Let's see. Now, last fall, I had, I'd been having, I'd been in a period of 4 years of like this really increased sensitivity. I'd also been in major depression, and I'd been coming out of that. This was it was 2011, not 2012. It was like November of 2011. Two things happened. One was an empath experience, and one was claircognizant experience. The empath experience, I was at the grocery store. I don't go to the grocery store any more than I have to. I can't stand going to the grocery store unless it's one of those really nice grocery stores that has kind of mood lighting and nice music playing, and they serve you free coffee, and the food's really good, and it's an enjoyable shopping experience, and I can't usually afford to go to those places, but the typical grocery store I can't stand because the fluorescent lights just kind of, I can't stand fluorescent lights. But I was in the grocery store, and I was standing in line, waiting, and all of a sudden, it just came over me so quickly. I mean, just all of a sudden, I just filled up with emotion, and I just wanted to just start crying. And I was standing there hoping I wanted to get out, because it just came out of nowhere, absolutely no reason. I wasn't feeling sad, and it just came up in me, and I felt so sad, like I was about to just start crying, and I got teary-eyed. I was holding it back, and I got a little jittery because I wanted to get out of there before I had tears streaming down my face, and I just, got a little nervous, and I looked around, and about 6 or 7 feet behind me, I saw a woman standing there, and she had this look on her face, like, she was about to start sobbing. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know why she would have that happen to her in a grocery store, but the look on her face was as though she just got news that her most loved one had died, or like she had just buried a child or something like that. It was, I mean, it was, it was one of those faces that really tears you up inside. And oh God, the sadness was just horrible. And she was about to lose it. And I was like, oh, that's where that came from. That's why I felt like that all of a sudden. Oh, hang on. But there was another experience I had within a week or two of that. It was this is kind of creepy. It was a Saturday evening, shortly after dark. I'd laid down a few hours before to take a nap, and I slept good, and I woke up, and I didn't remember any dreams. No memories of dreams. I sat on the edge of my bed. I'm kind of slow to wake up. I was just sitting on the edge of my bed, and for some reason I started thinking about suicide. Not me committing suicide, just I started thinking about suicide, the phenomenon of suicide, and which I've done occasionally over the years, you know, just pop into my mind, and it's a horrible thing. It's a strange thought, you know. And I just, for some reason, started thinking about suicide, and then I kind of had a mental progression. So suicide, and was it men versus women? Maybe it was I started thinking about suicide as a phenomenon, and I was just thinking, and I was thinking, there are differences in the statistics between men and women committing suicide, and I thought, yeah, men tend to shoot themselves more than women do. And then I thought, well, but some women shoot themselves, but the difference is when men shoot themselves, they usually shoot themselves in the head, and it seems like when women commit suicide by gunshot, they usually shoot themselves in the chest or in the heart. And I just started thinking about that for some reason, just out of the blue. The phenomenon, first it was suicide, and it progressed to, more specifically, women committing suicide by shooting themselves in the chest. And I was just sitting there thinking about that, and I was wondering, I was like, why am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about this? What's wrong with me? Why am I sitting here thinking about that? About this? And so I spent 10 or 15 minutes on my bed like that. And then, I got up and forgot about it, and just did whatever it was that I did. So it was a Saturday evening, and my sister's a nurse, and I talked to her the following Monday or Tuesday, and we live in a medium-sized city. There may be 400,000 people in the whole county, which is this city and another one. Greensboro, North Carolina, to be specific. But I talked to my sister Monday or Tuesday after having had this sitting on my bed thinking about women shooting themselves in the heart for some reason. Talked to my sister 2 or 3 days later, and she told me that over the weekend in Greensboro there were 3 women who shot themselves in the heart. And so I don't know if if they all did it on a Saturday or Sunday or Friday night. I don't know, but I know that right in the middle of that time period, when these 3 women each of these women had either done that or they were thinking about doing it. I was sitting on the edge of my bed thinking about women shooting themselves in the chest. Now, if I lived in New York City, a large city, maybe that's normal over a weekend. I don't know. I know that for here it's not. It's not. It's unusual for this area to, I haven't looked up the statistics, but I feel fairly confident in saying that in this area, Greensboro, 3 women doing that in one weekend is pretty rare. But that was just kind of like the final that was just the final experience. That after that happened, I was like, you know what, you really do know things sometimes, and it just kind of comes into your mind. And the thing is, if I had not talked to my sister, if my sister had not given me that bit of information, I wouldn't have known. I would have always wondered, why was I sitting on the edge of my bed thinking about women shooting themselves. But I got that little bit of information, and it was verification. And a lot of times we have claircognizance, and we don't know that we have it unless we get that verification. But if you've had these experiences for a long time, if you've been through the denial stage for decades like I was, and then you finally get past it, at that point you've had so many of these experiences that You just kind of know. You get to where you just know. For me, one thing that I've done over and over and over throughout my life is get a thought in my mind and now I'm experienced enough. I know that if I get a thought in my mind and I react by saying, why am I thinking this? Why did that thought come in my head? Why am I thinking this? What's wrong with me? If I react like that to a thought that just kind of pops into my head, that's usually a sign, just kind of my way of knowing that it's claircognizance. I think I've written some of these experiences down, and this is just like just sitting here off the top of my head and talking about them. But well, maybe I'll talk about some more, or maybe I'll just move on and talk about something else. What will I do?